I mean, I still miss, like, there's so many things you can't do over a phone call that you can do in person, right? Like we used to have our fucking walls with, the Post-it notes and like what we're doing and who's been wondering.
Yeah.
Like, so you miss that personal interaction, but like, I mean, we can still make do. So that's sort of where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the relationship you have with Pete it sounds like it's similar to Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Was that his partner?
Yeah,
Steve Wozniak being
yeah.
the real technical, like basically building the computer, and Jobs pretty much the visionary, as you said, orator, kind of selling the product, and just like a perfect combination. And I think many like successful startups in history have worked like that, with two people who complement each other's strengths and weaknesses, and then they can achieve like insane things. At the moment, I'm doing everything by myself, but I always think about the possibility of doing it with someone else. I just think I want to understand exactly what my strengths and weaknesses are before I go and potentially team up with someone, because picking the right person is super duper important. Sounds like you have a great thing going with Pete, and I've actually recognized the difference in the app. I've been a user of Amber for 2 years, I think, and this year I noticed it just come into its form, the user interface, the whole experience using the app, and like zero bugs. Like I used to, have to check it, or not have to check it, but I would just like be inclined to check it, make sure it was sweet. Now it just runs, and it's like a well-oiled machine, no issues. I have 100% faith in, the actual, the development and the app itself to do what it needs to do. And that's what people are skeptical about before they get into Bitcoin. Everyone's kind of like, oh, like, well, what about security? I mean, you don't have a bank to hold your money. That's the risk in people's eyes. But, you've actually developed a product that makes me as a consumer feel so safe and secure. So well done on that. It is awesome. Yeah, it's really good.
Thanks, man.
Where do you see the app actually going, say, in the next 5 years? Is there more changes to come, or are you happy with what the model is now and what you're doing with that?
The next 5 years.
I would be... Go on. Yeah, go on.
No,
I would be interested to see collaborations, I think, in the next 5 years with big brands that are now accepting Bitcoin. So from Amber, you can funnel users who are checking their Bitcoin holdings directly to brands that are just selling, retailing, but accepting Bitcoin. And I think that'll just start the first wave of retailers accepting it as a form of currency. I see it going that way anyway. I don't know if you do, but I do see people using it to actually buy things.
Well, longer term, you're 100% right. So the question isn't a question of if, it's just a question of when, right?
Yeah.
So, and really all that comes down to is, how liquid Bitcoin is, and how, so I always try, like the way I try and help people understand liquidity is kind of, if you step into a bathtub, that's sort of, full, the water level raises, right?
Yeah.
Because the bathtub, the total volume in the bathtub, total liquidity is very small. So you by yourself can raise it. But if you step into the ocean, you think the ocean raises because you've displaced some, water? No, it doesn't. Like, it's way larger. The liquidity, the volume of the ocean is much larger. So Bitcoin today is like a bathtub. And, like tomorrow, I think it'll need to be the size of like a swimming pool, or, like a small fucking, I don't know, whatever's larger than a swimming pool, right? So it needs to be large enough for the day-to-day fluctuations to have kind of not stopped, but to have dampened. So almost like a shock absorber, right? So it's like, and that only happens with increased liquidity. Now, the only way we can increase liquidity is more holders. So I still think we are still dead set in the middle of building Bitcoin hodlers still. So that proverbial term is like, how many people actually hold some of this thing?
Yeah.
Then thereafter, you'll start to get more merchants who are like, well, we should accept it. Did you read that Bitcoin and lockdowns article that I wrote?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, I'll send it to you after this. It made some waves, and I created this it wasn't a matrix. It was kind of like a graph which looks at Bitcoin's adoption curve and what is actually going to drive adoption long term. And I called it the necessity curve. And basically on one side, you've got people come to Bitcoin because they're curious or because they want to. And then on the other side, you've got people coming to Bitcoin because of pain or because they have to.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen over time is that as governments impose more and more restrictions on merchants, on businesses, on when you can trade, how you can trade, what you can trade for, and all this sort of stuff, they're going to look for an alternative. It's natural. Like if I'm a company that's running something and all of a sudden, I don't know, government releases some new mandate about, all right, you're this kind of business and you're considered non-essential, so you're not allowed to trade. And with the central bank digital currencies coming in, they'll literally be able to just turn off your bank account from, head office. Like you won't be able to even accept fucking money from anyone, considering, if you're a non-essential company. So that they're kind of setting themselves up with like unprecedented levels of power over people's, economic decision-making capabilities. So as the world moves more towards that, people are naturally going to be forced to look for an alternative. And the beauty of Bitcoin is it doesn't give a shit who you are, where you are, what you are, what time it is. You can just transact with anybody freely, openly, instantly. And that right there is what's going to drive, I think, the medium of exchange element of Bitcoin or the merchant adoption side of things. But again, it all has to come from, first, a broad base of people holding it, because then that's what gives the merchants the incentive to say, shit, there's now 1 million people that could potentially be my customers instead of, a couple raging maniacs like Aleks.
Yeah. I think it's closer than you think, though. I think someone in your position needs to be, fairly modest with their predictions and whatnot, because there's emotions involved, because you're running a company in the space. But me, as someone who's literally watching from the sideline, but is invested and can see what's going on, it's growing insanely fast now. Like it is the base that you talk about of hodlers. Is that it?
Hodlers,
is growing. Like most people that I see now respond to those asking when do I sell, you just don't sell. Like this is something you hold on to. This is property. This is gold. This is an asset. The idea isn't to buy it this week and sell it next week when it's going up 12%. The idea is to hold on to it for 12, 20, 30 years, pass it on to your kids in an inheritance because it's staying forever. Like, and more people are seeing to, I think, understand that. Yeah. I'm optimistic. I'm super optimistic.
Yeah, I think they are. I just think, so I'm pessimistic in one way, optimistic in another. I'm pessimistic in the sense that I still think that nowhere near enough people are thinking like that. But I'm optimistic in the sense that even though there's so little people thinking like that, we're already seeing this kind of movement. Just wait until you see, just wait until you see what this thing is going to do as the retail FOMO comes in. I was looking at a chart the other day of where they're comparing Bitcoin's price and Google searches in 2017 versus now.
True. I haven't checked
have you
that.
Seen it?
No, I haven't looked at it, but I would love to see that.
Google hasn't even flinched yet.
Yeah.
No one's even searching Bitcoin yet.
Oh shit. True.
So
I'm searching that thing like 6 times a day. I'm hitting Bitcoin in the search engine just to get a price. I'm obsessed though, but that's insane.
We're biased now. So the retail, the masses haven't even looked at this yet.
Yeah.
And I don't believe they will. And I said this on a podcast 8 months ago. I said, we will not see any retail FOMO until Bitcoin blasts through the 20,000 mark and probably hits 30,000. So basically between 20 and 30, we'll have this period of disbelief where it'll come back into the media around 20,000. The media will be like, oh, Bitcoin's back here, but it's going to fall from here. They'll say all that kind of crap. And Bitcoin will just keep going. There'll be this disbelief. Once it cracks 30 grand, people are going to lose their fucking mind. And we'll see from 30, it'll rocket to like 100. Again, not in a straight line, but it'll be, in a sort of ridiculous kind of trajectory where, we're sort of freaking out today about, $1,000 a day movements.
Yeah.
Wait till the thing's moving 10 grand a day and people
surely
really
not. Surely not.
Easy.
Surely. Holy shit.
We're going to be sitting there like,
but I guess the disbelief period, that's crazy.
It is. And that's what's going to happen. So for me, that's why I really believe, like, although, there seems to be like a rise in hodlers, that we're so early, man. We are so early. When we're starting to get 10 grand spikes in the candle, that's when you know it's starting to broaden. I'll also blow your mind with one more thing is today we're talking about the movement of the Bitcoin price, in, thousands of dollars. I think another couple halving cycles. So once we go past the 2024 halving and the 2028
it's every 4
halving,
years, right? Yeah.
Yeah, every 4 years. So as that new supply of Bitcoin constricts, like we at the end of this year will have 19 million Bitcoin in the market of the total 21 million, and that means the final 2 million will be produced over the next 120 years. So that scarcity is really going to start to take hold, and especially after the next two halvings. So we're 6.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes that gets issued now. The next halving, it'll drop to 3.25.
Yeah.
The halving after that, it'll drop to 1.675. After that one, my guess, and this will blow your mind, is that we will start, like Bitcoin will be so high in price, like it'll be well over $1 million. At that point, you'll be able to divide the Satoshis down. We will no longer be measuring Bitcoin's price. We'll be looking at the rise in Satoshis.
Oh.
Now, think about what happens when Satoshis go from 1 cent to 2 cent. That doesn't seem like a big rise.
Yeah.
But what actually happened to Bitcoin? It went from 1 million to 2 million. So imagine a Satoshi going from 1 cent to 2 cent over a month. That's $1 million fucking jump on Bitcoin, which if you break that down on a daily basis, you're talking about a $30,000 a day candle. So we ain't seeing nothing yet.
Yeah.
Like this is the baby tremors. Like, this is, I cannot even describe to you how wild it's going to be or like the big one I'm thinking in my mind is when a Satoshi goes from $1 to $2. Like that's Bitcoin moving from.
Is it in our lifetime? Do you think?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Easy.
Really?
Easy. Yeah.
Damn, I better buy some more.
Dude, by the time you're my age, if you keep stacking the way you've been stacking, you'll be, people will be looking at you like fucking Jeff Bezos. Seriously, my prediction before we're dead is that one Satoshi will be worth $1.
Yeah.
So you do your math.
That's crazy.
Every Bitcoin you hold, sort of equivalent to 100 million. So yeah.
That's nuts. Crazy stuff. I hope for the audience watching this interview, I hope that just blows your mind and puts into perspective what we're dealing with here. It is all hypothetical. Nothing is certain in this world, but what you're saying makes a lot of sense. It really does. And it's only people with that, optimistic attitude that can kind of see the possibility of that actually happening. Unfortunately, if you said that to someone else, if you said that to 95% of the current population, they would just shake their head and say, no, you're literally crazy. But I see it. I see the reality that you're putting in front of me. No one would have thought that we'd be using the internet the way we are now in the 80s. And
correct.
I think Bitcoin is the most comparable thing to the internet, easily.
I think it's far beyond the internet. I think it's
even crazier.
It's going to be the salvation of the internet, because the internet's kind of become this. It's almost been co-opted by it's lost its original raison d'etre, which was the liberation of the individual to communicate. Now it's sort of become this playground for a few big corporates to decide what free speech is and what it's not. So kind of it's lost that. Now Bitcoin is kind of delivered that again. Like it's kind of like a renaissance of free speech, in the sense that Bitcoin is uncensorable, and the most important form of communication is actually how we trade our labor, the product of our labor, which is money. So money is actually the communication medium that binds everybody and everything. It's we all perform some sort of function and action in society, and the way that is measured, the time and energy that we trade for, the time and energy that we trade for, what we input into society, is measured in an object called money. And to date, money no longer measures that anymore. Money is just printed out of thin air by central banks, by this bureaucrat, by that bureaucrat, based on whatever stupid rules or formula they want to create. So what will happen is, in the same way as people, would you work today? I'll ask you this question. Would you work today for 6 months, get all your savings, and store your savings in salt?
No.
No. Why? Because if accidentally the house floods, all your wealth is gone. Like
Yeah.
people don't store their money in salt anymore because it doesn't have the attributes of good money. So in the same way as, in the future, people will look back when, we're sort of on a Bitcoin standard, they'll be like, how did these idiots ever think that they could just print money out of thin air, which is basically printing time and energy? You can't do that. Like it's a aberration of nature and like natural physical laws. So that will that'll turn in on itself. And what people will do is, through just the sheer force of economic Darwinism, like wanting to hold on to what they have, they're going to want to store it in something that is uninflatable, unconfiscatable, and uncensorable. And the only thing that exists is Bitcoin. So as all of that capital flows, I mean, there's a great tweet that I saw, which is, what's the top of Bitcoin's value? It's infinity divided by 21 million, which is everything we value divided by 21 million. So when you think of it that way, like $100 million Bitcoin is cheap. Like we don't know that the sky is literally the limit. It's the entire productive capacity of humanity. And this is why the largest market for anything is not the internet. It's not, pharmaceuticals. It's money, because money measures everything.
Yeah.
And that's why that market is so large. And we are literally at the early days of the renaissance of a free money that is owned by the people, that is uncensorable, uninflatable, and it literally maps directly to time and energy. So that is profound. So when I think about Bitcoin in those terms, I'm like, A, you can't stop it. B, we're so early. C, we're going to get, we're going to get rich. And that's good because, like when you have resources, you can help change the world. But most importantly, in the process of doing what you're doing today, doing what I'm doing with my business, spreading this, we're actually changing the world for the better, which is fundamentally important.
It's very cool. It's very cool to get to experience this anyway. I think it's probably the most significant thing that will happen in our lifetimes. There's no company that could potentially outweigh the significance of what Bitcoin will do to the human race and the civilization we have here on Earth. It's quite weird. Maybe the aliens will start talking to us once we've got rid of money and we just use Bitcoin, because finally they're ready.
I seriously think this is the great filter. You know how they talk about the societies that sort of don't blow themselves up, they all have to pass the great filter. I actually think Bitcoin is the great filter. We make it through that. We stop burning our resources. We stop misallocating our resources.
Bro, I got goosebumps. It is crazy to imagine a world, and it's a better world. We live in a pretty good world now, but we haven't seen nothing yet. I mean, what we can achieve once we get rid of, I guess, the corruption that comes with what's in place now. The world thrives as one as well, united. It's just like it's mind blowing in itself. I've got a few questions to ask you from my followers. Number one, someone interested in getting into Bitcoin. Okay, they've seen my content, they've seen other people's content, they're finally convinced about what they're looking at, and they want to get involved. How much do they come in with? Say they've got $5,000.
Okay, my first answer to that would be the whole 5,000, obviously.
I would say that, yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, that's what I would do. But to maintain some level of sanity, because what will happen is that they'll put it in, and fundamentally human beings are emotional creatures. So it's, Bitcoin's going to fluctuate. And if they've put everything they have in there, they're going to be sweating. So I recommend two things. One is, 10%. Like if you've got the disposable savings, chuck in 10%, get some skin in the game straight away. Don't wait, don't think about it, just get it in there.
Mm-hmm.
Then pick an amount that you want to dollar cost average. So that could be then of the balance, it could be $200 a week or $250 a week, so call it 5% of it, just going in every week. So then you can kind of average your buying. Now, the worst case is that Bitcoin skyrockets, so then you're buying at a higher rate. But hey, it doesn't matter because you started and you're going in, so up is great. The best case is actually Bitcoin kind of taking a dip while you're dollar cost averaging, so then you can kind of get a better rate. Because again, remember the long-term trend here is upwards. When you zoom out on Bitcoin, it doesn't have a down period. Like it's had a couple minor pullbacks, but overall it's up 100 million% since inception. So nobody can tell me that it's down. So get some skin in the game, and then picking them out, start dollar cost averaging.
Yeah, I like it.
And I mean, Amber's designed for that. Literally, I built it for that, so that there is no more excuse. Like when I first started, there was an excuse, which is, where the hell do I buy it? Like,
I'm interested to know. I mean, when did you get into Bitcoin? 2015, 2016?
16. So I fell down the rabbit hole really quickly. Yeah. So
where were you buying it? Like the bloody dark web? How did you get Bitcoin back then?
My first bit of Bitcoin I bought literally with some dude at a cafe that I met on what was the site called, localbitcoins.com. So you message some random, you come with a paper bag with some cash, and a wallet, and it was kind of like a drug deal. Like we sort of sitting there looking at each other. I was ready for him to rob me, he was ready for me to rob him, and we're kind of looking at each other. It's like, yeah, here's the money, bro. It's like we did the first trade like that.
And then what, he inputs something into a computer, or?
No, he just sent it from his wallet to my wallet, like just instantly. So like the Bitcoin appears obviously instantly, or next to instantly.
And what was the wallet you were using back then?
Oh, what was I using back then? It was either they were crap back then as well. It was probably blockchain.info, like some fucking garbage, which I wouldn't touch anymore. So everything's come such a long way since then. And I mean, look, mind you, there were exchanges back then. So there were things like CoinJar and Independent Reserve, but they were just garbage. Like CoinJar would rape you on fees, and it was just a garbage application. And getting money into CoinJar was a nightmare. Independent Reserve and all that sort of stuff was like, again, like the Aussie dollar fees weren't great, and it's more like a trading thing and all this sort of stuff. So it just again wasn't user-friendly. So, and I'm looking at this because, I mean, I'm a bit more of a techie and I'm a bit more sort of out there. So I was willing to go and try those things, but also do this kind of deal in a cafe with some random that I don't know.
Yeah, most people wouldn't, but I mean,
cash, right?
Yeah.
So, but now they don't have to. So when I was looking at all of that, I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And that was my, driver to sort of develop Amber, is like, can I solve this problem? And that's the crux of entrepreneurialism, is find a problem, fix it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Pay for it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. They pay for it.
Yeah. That's so cool. No, I love it. I mean, I've tried various cryptocurrency exchanges, and when I was, investigating before I picked one, because I wanted to go in heavy, and I didn't want to kind of spread it across. So I wanted to pick one to go with. And by far, I mean, Amber stood out just because of the fact that it didn't market to me as a trading platform. It was serious from the beginning. It was like, okay, you're about to invest in something and you're going to leave it there. It's a wallet. It's not, somewhere where you're going to be conducting trades and in and out. And that's what I wanted from the beginning. And I think people are getting into it with that approach as well now. So
I think if I may touch on one point there that I think you mentioned, which is super important, is I think in today's day and age where the world's literally been deformed through money printing, is that we're sort of incentivized to chase yield and to financialize everything. So we have derivatives on derivatives on derivatives on derivatives. We have like the word investing has disappeared, and it's become basically people equate investing to trading now. And trading is literally gambling. Like it really is, because unless you're a Ray Dalio level or Stanley Druckenmiller level hedge fund, you will not have an edge in the market. I don't care how many tea leaves or how many charts you read. It's just like on a long enough time scale, the odds are against you. You have much more luck playing blackjack or the pokies. So effectively,
I wonder how many people actually just considered what they do and thought maybe I should go to the casino tomorrow instead.
Seriously,
I know I've dabbled in it, and I just how does anyone win in this game?
Trading is a disaster, and this is coming from a person who's been in markets now since 2007. I was there before the GFC. Yeah. I made money, I lost money, I made money, I lost money. Like all of that time, if I just shut up and stop trying to be outsmart the market. If I just put in $10 every week into Amazon, I'd be worth millions just out of my Amazon stock now. Yeah. But I was too arrogant. And I was too stupid.
People want it now. People want it so quickly.
So what you're doing by differentiating and actually investing now, dude, you are literally bucking the trend. And this is again why I was so adamant on using my experience and my failures. Like I have made and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on markets, probably even more from trading like an idiot. And the thing is, I'm probably overall in my life, probably even. But it's just all this time, effort, work, and energy when I could have just fucking put that money, aside every week. And what you're doing is literally going to pay off more than anything else I've done. And I mean, like my sister's a great example. She knows nothing about markets, but she did listen to me. And for the last year and a half, she's been putting $30 every fortnight or every week into Bitcoin. And my brother, who's a professional trader, my brother's a professional trader. His returns over the last 2 years are 4%, and she's on 100%. He didn't even do anything.
That's awesome.
He's burning.
That's
He's
awesome.
burning inside.
It's funny, my close network, those who I've, finally got through to and have downloaded Amber and created their profile. I'm getting screenshots every day of their gains, and they're all, nearing 100%. And it's bizarre to look at because this person has no idea really what Bitcoin is or how to trade profitably, but because they chose to put their money somewhere, they're now almost 100% richer. It's just, and it's possible for anyone. You just need to say yes, and that's it.
You actually need to start.
Shit, we've covered pretty much everything. I mean, I just wanted to have a discussion with you basically and record it for my viewers because I thought we'd get more out of that than some kind of scripted interview.
Dude,
I would like to. I would like to just close on Amber. I guess what role that's going to play in the next 10 years, how it's different from those who would be considering CoinSpot or Coinbase, these other ones, and why it's a great idea for people to go and take $100 out of their monthly paycheck and put it in Amber on a recurring buy cycle.
Cool. All right. So I'll name two things. First and foremost, Amber is specifically Bitcoin only. So we're in this for the revolutionization or the transformation of money. Okay. Now, money by definition, like I said, is this fabric that binds us all. And because it's that kind of a network, it will always converge to unity. Like there's a thing called Gresham's law, which is good money pushes out bad money. Like I said, you're not going to hold salt, you'll hold gold over salt. And you'll hold Bitcoin over gold because it's superior. And nothing comes anywhere near Bitcoin. Bitcoin is by far the most superior kind of money. Now, all these other cryptos, all this other, what I call shit coins, they're just digital fiat. So they're no different to the central bank, government money at the moment, except in fact, they're probably inferior in many ways because at least the central banks have some checks and balances. Whereas all this other garbage like Ethereum and whatever the fuck else is out there, that's just a group of developers who can just change the numbers internally. And you have no guarantee of the total supply of the censorship resistance of it or any of that sort of stuff. So they're all fiat. So Bitcoin stands against all crypto. It stands against all fiat. It stands against all kind of funny money and all the stupidity. So first and foremost, Amber is this Bitcoin only product. And much like I always use the example of 20, 30 years ago, there was multiple competing internets. There was all these private companies thinking that their version of the information superhighway was going to be what everyone was going to use. So they created their own proprietary stacks and all this crap. And, people would laugh at this notion of the internet. They're like, what, this network that nobody runs.
Watch me go and create my own. It's going to be even better. No idea what they're competing against. It isn't another person or thing. It's its own entity.
It's a network, exactly. So the internet emerged as this dark horse, and it's really funny. Like I've in one of my early articles, why Bitcoin matters. I've got some screenshots in there from the Computer Science Museum in San Francisco, which sort of shows snips from early articles of people from IBM and I think it was Microsoft or whatever laughing at the notion of the internet ever being a thing because they had their own proprietary information networks and all of that disappeared and it all converged onto Bitcoin, onto the internet as the communication, as the substrata for communication. Now, money is an even more convergent network. Like you can't, the money eliminates all friction because if you've got one type of money, I've got another, it becomes difficult to trade. So we end up all converging onto a singular one. So this is why like our focus on Bitcoin has been specific from the beginning. So all these other ones like CoinSpot or CoinJar or fucking Coinbase, they're all what I call shitcoin casinos. So that's where you go if you want to gamble your money and learn the hard way that the smartest decision you could have made was just to accumulate Bitcoin. Now, as we sort of, with that first initial differentiation, we then get another set of advantages, which is by being Bitcoin only, we can then start building depth in our product. So tomorrow we can introduce banking type features like lending and borrowing, like payments, like a card that completely bypasses Visa and MasterCard. So we can actually build a new age bank, whereas all these other guys, it's too complex. Unless
That's so cool. Yeah. Keep it clean,
unless
keep
they
it
strip
simple.
all the other garbage, like they've got to literally change their entire business model, rip out all of the crypto fucking shenanigans and all the shitcoin casinery. They got to rip all of that crap out to come and chase us. So we're literally bucking the trend. So in the short term, it might hurt us because particularly in Australia, there's more people I think trading shitcoins than accumulating Bitcoin.
I'm sure of it. More than any other country, I reckon. The crap that goes around talking about altcoins. Yeah, literally, I think we're 30% higher than the second highest country in the world, which is Singapore or something like that. We are the most gambling prone country in the world. It's crazy. So there's no wonder that they just throw so much money into these huge currency exchanges, cryptocurrency exchanges, hoping to make.
Exactly. And then they gamble it all away and then they wonder why they broke later. So for us, I purposely took a different path. And I want to first, we lay the foundation of saving for the long term and investing for the long term. We want to build our users. We want to enable them to build long-term wealth that's enduring. Then as that sort of grows, we effectively, Amber becomes a bank of the 21st century, which is not tied to the old legacy system. We're not tied to, what the, Reserve Bank says, or all this other bullshit. Yeah. We can literally build a new set of features on a new set of primitives that are always on, 24/7, instant, digital, global, frictionless. And that is the future of money and banking, not, the garbage that we see today that's tied to fiat dollars. It's not even it's like the fax machine's trying to compete with email. No chance. We're still at the point where everyone's still using fax machines, but man, email's going to take over.
Yeah. Love it. What was the last one I asked? I think I've forgotten. But mate, you have put Bitcoin into a nutshell and then exploded it. And I hope those who have watched this are now aware of what we're dealing with and are prepared to get involved before. And not necessarily it's too late. I mean, if you're looking at $100 million Bitcoin valuation, wherever that is in the future, it's never going to be too late to get in. But the best time to get into an investment was yesterday. The second best is now. That's what I heard from one of my last guests. I was like, it rings true, especially in investing. Get in now and don't panic when it fluctuates because that is normal. You just have to hodl. So if you are interested,
dollar cost averaging exists, right? Like, so when it's fluctuating, dollar cost averaging lets you take advantage. Simple. Like that's literally why I did it that way.
It's
like,
awesome.
That's the cool feature.
Yeah. So in a decline trend, you just up the ante. Okay, I'll buy $500 worth of Bitcoin this week or this month, and then pull it back when it starts going up the other way. It's an awesome machine what you've created. Unbelievable. Did you imagine it would turn out like this, or like has it just happened and you're like, holy shit, it can actually do this, or has everything just been with a purpose? You've made every move and decision
It was definitely with a purpose, but only because, like, I think if I was in my 20s, I'd be surprised. But because I went through all the stupidity in my 20s and I did that, and I've been around markets and I know where the mistakes were, this has all been with a purpose. This is not by accident that we built it like this.
Yeah, so, it's exceptional. I can't fault it. If you would like to buy Bitcoin and you would like to buy it now or on a recurring basis, the link to the app is in the description below. Go get it. It takes 2 minutes to set up your account. So easy. And then you're an investor. Then you are a Bitcoin owner and you can tell your friends about it. It'll definitely impress them or aggravate them. And then you can have a conversation about it and seem a lot smarter than them.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time, Aleks. I wish you well over in Europe. Hopefully I get to catch you and, we can grab a beer when you come back to Brisbane, which hopefully is in the near future. What do you reckon? 2021 or?
I don't know, man. Let's see the journey. So hopefully next year. I would love to be back for before the end of next year, like the summer.
Yeah, love it. All right,
that's the plan.
Hang tight and chase that summer. I love that idea. That is so cool.
You're
a fully blown digital nomad now. You just travel around running a company from your laptop.
I think I picked the worst time in history. I think I picked the worst time in history to be a digital nomad, though, with all the travel restrictions.
I know.
Like, God damn it.
Yeah, I had an itch to travel this year. At the beginning of the year, I thought definitely I'm gonna go do some serious traveling, live in other countries. Shit hit the fan, and that didn't work out. But then I started doing this, and who knows, that might be next year or the year after. There's plenty of time, but it's great. You're out there exploring the world and changing it. So good on you, Aleks. And we'll speak again soon.
Thanks again, Andrew, man. Thank you. And thank you for everything you're doing, honestly. Like I said in the beginning, having young people who are actually thinking long-term and actually doing something about it. And then, TikTok channel, like what you're actually doing with Amber and like all of that, literally, like for me is, like I said, it gives me hope for the fucking future, because you guys and whoever's listening in this sort of like aligns with Andrew's thinking, is you guys are the leaders. You guys are the up and coming leaders of the future. Your 20s are ahead of you. Your whole life's ahead of you. Your 20s, make the absolute most of them. Like literally work your ass off, study your ass off, learn, because that's what makes you a giant, down the track. Like you do not want to recede or waste your 20s, because you're not going to get them back.
That's awesome. Yeah. I hope you listen to that. If you're in your 20s, if you're in your 30s, it's never too late. In your 40s, never too late. Go do something, go do whatever you want in life and do it well. All right. Cool. See you later, Aleks. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, pal. Adios. Ciao.